And I see that we have a few attendees. So let me start. I would like to inform everyone that the Steamship Authority is making an audio and video recording of today's meeting. And if there is anyone else making a recording of today's meeting, if you could identify yourself by pressing the raise your hand icon, or if you're joining by phone, although no one is. And when you're recognized, please state the name for the record. No one is, so I assume no one else is making a recording. Second announcement is that in accordance with Section 20 of Chapter 20 of the Acts of 2021, the Steamship Authority has ensured public access to the deliberations of the working group today for interested members of the public via Zoom. And a link to access this meeting via Zoom has been provided in the meeting notice for today's meeting. All of the working group members are participating remotely in today's meeting, also pursuant to that statute, by the Zoom video conferencing app, and all members hopefully will be clearly audible to each other. Thank you, and I would like to thank Peter McConerty and Jim McLaughlin. Peter is the head of DPW in Falmouth, and Peter is the town, and Jim is the town engineer. Thank you both for attending today. And that's something that came at the recommendation of Mike Morrow, whose recommendation had been forwarded to the Falmouth Select Board. And they apparently didn't think it was such a bad idea. The first item on today's meeting is hopefully the approval of the minutes of the working group's April 28th, 2021 meeting. I sent that out on Sunday afternoon. Does anyone have any comments or suggestions?
I felt that they're accurate. I'd move approval.
Okay.
Second that.
All right. Mr. Russo?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Morrow?
Yes.
And Mr. Trumbull?
Yes.
Okay. Hopefully we can get through the rest of the meeting. That's nice. The second item on the agenda is MassDOT's response to the town of Falmouth's request for additional no speeding or similar signs on Woods Hole Road and to conduct spot checks of truck weights. I know that Peter has a copy of this letter. I thought I would share it on the screen. And let me see. And Nat, I don't know whether you, I got this letter actually from Nat. I didn't get it from the town. But I don't know, Nat, if you have any ideas initially, or if we can ask Peter and Jim what ideas they might have and how we can proceed to try to continue with this. I know the letter talks about at the town requesting a meeting with MassDOT. I don't know whether that's the case. Putting in electronic speed feedback signs, contacting the Massachusetts State Police for weight checks, which we should probably do, and whether a new speed study could be conducted, and if it could only be on certain portions of Woods Hole Road that we think are more problematic than others. And those are many of the ideas in the letter. So I'll put it there. And just to get the ball rolling, since Peter McConerty is intimately involved in all this, and so is Jim McLaughlin, I was wondering if they could give us their assessment of MassDOT's response and what we might be able to do.
Yeah, good afternoon, Peter McConerty. Yeah, but so Woods Hole Road is, as everyone knows, is under Mass DOT jurisdiction. There are times that we may go, request Mass DOT to add signage to the roadways. That might be something we may be able to do. We reach out to Mass DOT to see if we can, as a town, add some additional signage. But I know with the driver feedback signs that they asked, the state, they'll allow the town to put the signs in through a permit, and they'll be, the state won't be responsible for them. We'll be responsible of the town to monitor that and maintain it. As far as anything with, usually when we put these in, they're solar powered, so they're not, they don't have electricity to them. So at times, if there's overdraft or there's trees or there's brush or what have you, you'll have to brush that back. But I believe since this letter, Steve, there was no one had reached out to the state since this letter was received. I know no one from Public Works has reached back out to the state.
Wait, I missed that last part, Peter.
I know that no one from Public Works has reached out to the state. I don't believe anybody else from the town of Falmouth has reached out to the state in regards to this letter.
So I can add that the Falmouth Transportation Management Committee did reach out to, after this letter came in, to Kenneth Charlton, who's
Oh, it is
at
me.
the bottom. And
On this next page.
right. And the discussion was about that there was one missing piece of information that didn't make it into the original request. I think it came after the letter went out. And that was there've been a couple incidents with school buses. And at least according to Ed DeWitt, the chair of the Transportation Management Committee, that actually did get the attention of at least Mr. Charlton of MassDOT. And
Steve, can I interrupt for a second? Can you hear me?
Yes, but I don't know who you are.
It's Sean.
Yes, Sean.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but I wanted to let you know of an issue about this meeting. I just was informed and verified that the agenda, the link to attend the meeting has the correct link, but the text above it inadvertently had the meeting ID for the board meeting and not for this meeting. So if anyone from the public is trying to get in from Zoom and typing in the meeting ID, they won't be able to join this meeting. But if they clicked on the link, it would work. So I wanted to inform you of that ASAP because it potentially could be a notice requirement. And I apologize on our behalf. I did not catch that discrepancy before this agenda went out. Obviously, it's too late to reissue it as the meeting started 11 minutes ago. So I felt it best to pop in to tell you that before you got too far down the road, so that you could all decide how you wanted to proceed.
Well, we have some people. Let me stop sharing so I can go back and list and look at them.
Yeah,
We do have 7 attendees as well as the participants.
okay. And that's fine. I'm not advising you. I'm just informing you. So it's really up to you guys. But I wanted to make sure you were aware of that now rather than after the fact.
So Steve and Sean, I actually tried going in through the typing in the ID and it kept putting me on hold. And so that's why I switched and clicked on the link instead. And I think that's probably what most people would do, is if they tried typing in the ID and it didn't work, they would switch to clicking on the link.
At least the meeting notice provided the link as well.
It did, yeah. I mean, the right information is on there, just not in both places. So I'll leave it to you. I wanted to come in to inform you of that sooner rather than later. So sorry for the scratching record in the background of your progress, but I didn't want to let it go too long.
Well, based upon Doug Jones's experience, I'm going to say we're already here. We've started the meeting, and why don't we continue? And and Catherine Bumpus said she did the same thing, so she got through it.
And she's how I found out. Yeah, she texted me about it. So
maybe Sean, are you able to put a corrected one up immediately?
I can do that immediately, and we can also send an update to everyone who's subscribed to the public meeting notices through Gov Delivery just to let people know. So I'll do both of those things and then proceed apace.
Okay, so hopefully that'll correct anyone else if you can do that rather quick.
I will do that right now.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Sorry to interrupt.
Okay. All right.
Steve, could I finish up that there were 2 other quick points? One was 'cause having read this letter, I wasn't convinced that the steamship's letter of support made it through. I don't know. I could check with Julian Suso, but I was surprised there was no, I don't know. I would have thought there might at least be a reference to the steamship authority. I hope that letter of support went through. And then the only other point was that and this is a recent development. I do know that the Transportation Management Committee is recommending at this fall's town meeting that 6 LED speed, Peter may know more, but 6 speed reporting signs be purchased through embarkation fees would be mentioned and installed at the best locations, which remain to be determined probably. Peter, you may know, I heard the quote for how much, about $40,000 for those 6, is that?
Yeah, so we just went through this up on Route 151. So earlier this year, in January, February, March timeframe, there was a fatality up on 151, and the public engaged with the town to see what improvements could be made up in the area. And one of the improvements we're looking at was these driver feedback signs. So it's 50 miles an hour up there. So the sign will have a speed limit sign on the bottom that says 50 miles an hour, and then there'll be a driver feedback sign above that that will flash if you're doing above 50. If you're doing above 55, it'll say slow down. They're solar power. They're about $5,500 a piece. So on town roads, what we've done is we have purchased them, and to keep the cost down, we have installed them. The town installed them, and then we buy additional parts to go with them in case whatever breaks, modules or what have you breaks. It's an added responsibility for the town to be able to maintain them. Are they effective? Yeah, they can be effective. As long as you're not putting too many of them up there. If you're putting too many of them up there, then you're going to get them the other way with the signs. But I know that some of the other signage that we put up on Woods Hole Road went through the state. It'll be a responsibility of the town that the state won't. If there's ever an accident and someone hits one of them, or they get hit by lightning or something happens, the state won't maintain them. It'll be a responsibility of the town.
So Peter, what would be the next step to get one on Woods Hole Road? For the town to determine where it should go, for you and Jim to figure that out, for this committee to do so and request that one of these 6 be installed and get a permit from the state?
So, well, the 6 that they're looking to order right now, they're talking about, Doug?
Yep.
Yeah, so what it is we'll have to come out with a location, then you have to get a permit because you're going to be working within the Mass DOT right away. So you have to get a permit, you have to show a plan, you have to submit a traffic management plan that for the work to be done. What the work that we've done in the past, all the work done on the shoulder. So it sounds like a lot of work, but it's done on the shoulder. So the traffic management is minimal. You're not shifting traffic. You just it's basically signage. You're letting motorists know that you're working on the roadway.
How can we start that process then?
Basically what it is we go out, we get a plan, we put a plan together, say these are the areas we'd like to do it, request a access permit to get into the highway, submit the information. The Mass DOT is very particular on the signage that they use, so they only recommend and they only would like to use certain vendors. And that's not a problem, but we just need to know that. So we need to know what vendors they allow. I believe TAPCO is one of them. And then we fill out the forms, we submit all the information, and then it goes through their permitting department and it gets approved, goes through all the rest of the departments, gets sent back to us. The last time we did it, it takes us several months to go through all the department and get through that.
So we can't ask you to do it. It needs to be that
The town.
the Board of Selectmen ask you to do it, right?
Board of Selectmen can ask, and then Public Works can submit to the state. And if we're looking to go to town meeting to purchase some of these feedback signs, then this is July. You'll be right about in that time frame by the time the paperwork's done.
And the idea is the 6 signs is town-wide, not for Woods Hole Road. Is that correct, man? Nat, is that your understanding?
I'm not sure what I was thinking 6 on Woods Hole Road, but I could be wrong. Ed did mention up at Goodwill Park, that would be a perfect candidate, unless that's already coming with the crosswalk.
So,
I think
so,
6 will be overkill and people will start ignoring them if you have
Okay.
that.
Okay. Actually, so I did just remember, I think Goodwill Park was another candidate for two of the sixes, or one of the sixes.
so as you come off the highway, coming down from that double barrel and going into the single barrel, you take the corner right there before Palmer Ave. It cuts down to 45 miles an hour there. And vehicles that continue to do 60 in that area. So with town engineer Jim McLaughlin's working with the state right now. We're looking at putting one of those Hawk systems in, which will be it's a crosswalk right in that area at Goodwill Park. So that could be a good area, good area for one of these signs up in that area. But is that going to take care, is that going to resolve any issues further down on Woods Hole Road going down towards, as you keep on going south?
I still think you're gonna need 1 or 2 on Woods Hole Road itself.
Yeah, so if you look at it, so like on when we're doing the ones on 151, we're looking at doing 3 westbound, 3 eastbound. So if you were gonna do 1 or 2, you'd probably, you'd do probably 4, because you'd have them on both sides of the road.
I'll mention one other candidate we've discussed, and that is the hill so going north as one approaches the bike path that as the road crests and people speed down that hill. That might be another good that was mentioned.
Over near Elm Road.
Right.
Yep.
Right, I agree with going north on that one.
North. Yeah. I don't know who decide or what you studied to determine what locations are best.
So I think what would happen is, so the way I would approach it is I would drive the roadway, look at the speed limits on the roadway. Part of it is the area where it can be that there's enough room if it is an island. So if up near Elm Road, there's an island right in Elm Road. There's 2 entrances to Elm Road. There's an island right that's probably about 300 feet prior to the crossing of the bike path. And there's plenty of southern exposure there. So if we were going to put in a solar power light, that would be a good area to do it. There's not much foliage. That would be a good area to place one in. So you drive the roadway, and I think it would be a recommendation of where would these best fit. They have to be off the roadway, so they don't get hit by vehicles. They don't get hit by snow plows in the wintertime, and they'd be most effective that vehicles would see them. So I think it would be a recommendation from the town or others that this is what we're looking to do. And then you put a plan together and you send it into the state. And probably send it into the state as not as separate areas, as one multiple plan saying, along this roadway between this mile marker and this mile marker, we're looking to put these many signs in, and here's the details of the sign, and here's the traffic management plan for that.
Peter, would you suggest that we do that using the Goodwill Park as part of this same road? So going from where it goes 2 barrel to 1 barrel all the way to the Steamship Authority, and say that's the section we're talking about?
Yes. Yeah. Yep. Exactly.
I agree with, oh, go ahead, Mike. You have to unmute yourself.
Hi, first I want to thank James and Peter for attending today's meeting. Thank you, guys. But yeah, no, I like the letter. I think it's the good first step, making the request. Everything Peter said is correct. I would actually, defer to his discretion on the locations of these signs. They know the roads better than I do, that's for sure. They're on the town roads more than I am. So, I support the letter and support everything that Peter just said.
Great. And I also agree with that possible location northbound, getting close to the bike path. I'm going to share my screen again to show you another location that we've talked about. And that is right as Woods Hole Road is going down to the village. This is a particularly bad location, problematic location for the neighbors there, because what happens is that this is where it goes from earlier 40 miles an hour going up to the golf course. And then it slows down to 35 miles an hour there, right at the top of the hill. And then people have to slow down to get down to 20 miles an hour as they enter the village. And as a result, you have the use of engine brakes a lot on this particular coming down the hill because people don't slow down quickly enough. And I don't know whether Nat or Doug agree, but I think if there could be another one of these electronic feedback signs there, that might help that situation at least a little bit.
Southbound, yeah.
Just going
I think
southbound.
there could be a sign saying 20 miles per hour ahead.
That way too. Are these feedback signs allowed to tell you the change of speed limit ahead, or are these only based upon what the speed limit actually is at the place of the sign?
There's different technologies, but typically it's when you want to enforce a speed limit at a particular location. So it's the speed at the location. Now, some of the technology that's out there is actually these signs. Not only do they do driver feedback, but they collect information, so they actually can collect data and do statistics on it. I mean, it's Bluetooth. The police department might want to look at, 85% of the vehicles are doing the speed limit, 15's doing 20 miles an hour over, or what have you. But you can change by Bluetooth, change the graphics on the screen, or you can download the data on it. So, but typically these signs are placed where the speed limit's already changed. I got a question. So as it does go down to 20 miles an hour as it gets down to the curve on Crane Street, do these vehicles do they actually, I know I do because I know the area I'm going into, but do these vehicles typically slow down to 20 miles an hour? They're still going faster when they come into the Woods Hole area, Water Street.
I suspect they're going faster than 20 miles an hour. If they're slowing down to turn left over Crane Street Bridge. I suspect very few people get down to 20 miles an hour.
I see Catherine saying still going faster. Yeah.
Yeah.
So in areas like that where it's critical, where you want 20 miles an hour is not a typical speed. So there was obviously a speed warrant down in that area. So maybe if you want to enforce that, that would be in that area where that is, that might be a location to say that you're basically coming into a business area and it's no longer highway.
The other speed at that point is 0, but that's our future
Yes. Maybe
agenda
David.
item
Yes.
when the traffic backs.
If I
Is
could
that
point,
town enforcement or state enforcement?
Who's that question for, Doug?
I'm not sure. I mean, it's a state highway. Does the town can still enforce the speed limit on a state highway, right?
See, Woods Hole Road's a little tricky. I believe they can. Typically, the police are not going to go up on Route 28 up on Brick Hill Road. But down on Woods Hole Road, when it's coming into that area and starting to come into the Water Street area, down
Chief-
on that area, I would say yes, but I think that's a question for the chief.
Chief Dunn did tell us kind of unambiguously that he enforces Woods Hole Road as well.
that's
Yeah.
my memory as well.
Yeah.
It's just not a top priority for him, which is understandable.
Okay. If I could, I don't have a photo of the third place going southbound, but north of Quissit Harbor Road, the intersection with the light,
Oyster
right-
Pond Road.
right before the intersection, it comes down to 25 miles an hour because people have to be prepared to stop. But often people are not going they're not going 25 miles an hour unless they hit a red light. And that results in a lot of engine brakes being used and lots of noise. So maybe right in front of there's a curve there that goes to the left right before you get to the light. And a sign there would also be a good location as potential. I mean, it's going to be your decision, but I don't want to sit here and not give you the things that we've been talking about over the last few months. But that might also be a good location going southbound again. just before the corner, before you get to the Quistit Harbor Road stoplight.
Oyster Pond.
So could either the Steamship Authority or could this committee draft a very quick letter to the board, select board, asking them to go through the process of choosing the right locations and applying for the permits?
I'm happy to draft a letter if the other working group members agree. It wouldn't be from the Steamship Authority, it'd be from us. I don't have any authorization for the Steamship Authority. But as far as a working group, if we could just send a letter out and say that, I think that would be perfectly appropriate.
I think that'd be great.
I'd appreciate that.
So something being so on town roadways, Jim McLaughlin, our town engineer, what have you, we can do some of those areas. When it gets into like Woods Hole Road with the state, we may need to bring in our traffic consultant. Most likely we will bring in we have a on-call traffic consultant that we use just to bring them in, just to look at these areas to say, this is what we're looking to do. We're going through the state. We've done them in the past, but if we have our company also looking at our consultant looking at them, it might be helpful.
I think that'd be great. I just think the first process needs to say, okay, we're actually asking the select board to do this.
Right.
Does anyone have a problem with that? Mike or Steve or Allison doesn't get the vote, but she can give her opinion.
Sure.
Okay.
I have no issues.
I would ask Steve for locations because he drives that road a bit more than all of us.
Okay. Well, we're leaving that up. We're leaving that up to Peter and James, unless Steve has another suggestion.
No, I think they're good ideas. I think you put too much signage up, people just block it out. That's what my notice going up the highway is. A lot of people are too focused on other things. A blinking sign is just a deterrent to them. They don't even look at it. But if you want to put them up, I have no qualms with it.
I will say in front of the schools, each of our schools has that, and
Yep.
they do make me slow down. And at school.
That's something that Public Works took on a couple of years ago. We replaced all the ones in front of the schools. And another item that may help is a request to the state to bring in their tree team to see if they can brush back the edges of the road. It's always growing, it's always going fast. And I know they've done it in the past, but that grows out into the roadway. And if to be able to brush it back to see existing signage, and if we're going to be installing new signage, that will be needed.
Okay.
I agree with you there. There's a couple bad spots on Woods Hole Road where you almost have to go into the other lane and get around some of the brush and the branches, especially just before the fire station,
Right.
heading towards Woods Hole.
So Steve, does that give you enough direction for your letter to talk about doing from Palmer Ave to Steamship Authority, looking at asking the town to do a plan for electronic signs, but also ask the Mass DOT to brush clear around the current signage?
And Doug, maybe North Palmer Ave, if we're going to include that Goodwill, is that what we?
Yep, that's what I'm suggesting.
Okay, right.
All right. Is that a motion?
That
And a
is.
second? To
Yes.
authorize
Second.
you to go ahead and write the letter on behalf of the working group. It's not on behalf of the Steamship Authority. That's
I understand.
okay.
But I'm also saying I trust you to write the right letter and not wait for the next meeting to get it approved.
Right. That's the problem of public entities. They take forever. I mean,
This could be faster.
okay. So I assume Nat is seconding that. May I have a vote? Mr. Arujo,
Yes, sir.
Mr. Jones,
Yes.
Mr. Morrow,
Yes.
and Mr. Trumbull.
Yes.
Okay. Right, I'll get that out. They also asked for the town to talk to the state police about checking weights. Should we also, shouldn't the town make a request to the Massachusetts State Police to do for more weight checks? Mike is nodding his head. I think Nat is nodding his head.
Yes.
Okay. That's something that can be brought to the town for that. And my sense is that the speed study would be very complicated and extensive, even for a short period of the road. And it may be a bigger bang for the buck to get these speed feedback signs. Shall we just forego pursuing that one at the moment and see what we can do with the speed feedback signs first?
Yeah, I think so also because the data we get from these can be helpful moving forward.
Okay.
I'm thinking these might lower the speed at some point. Then you go do the study. I will say the TMC was not interested in the official study worrying about raising the speed.
Okay. Peter or Jim, do you have any other ideas or suggestions?
No, I think that's a good approach to be able to put the signs up for us to be able to do that. Yeah.
And I agree.
Okay. So we'll ask the select board to authorize you to move forward with the speed feedback signs. Anything else on this agenda item? The next one is the report on the Steamship Authority's efforts to eliminate the unacceptable traffic backups from the Woods Hole Terminal and to stop vehicles from crossing the double yellow line on Crane Street to get around other vehicles waiting to check in. And this is where I have to apologize profusely. In earlier meetings of the working group, I said that I thought that we would be able to handle the standby situation. We had long discussion of that, and I thought that we could implement new procedures in order to prevent that traffic backup from going up Woods Hole Road. I was obviously wrong. I think over the past 2 months, we have failed not only the test, but the entire course on that issue. And I don't know whether there is a way that we can stop those backups during standby without implementing a very extensive online standby program that we don't have in place yet. It would be based on what is on Nantucket and in Hyannis, but even in Hyannis, I think there are some issues with implementing an online standby program at the moment.
I have to disagree with this. I've been over there. I've seen the backups, but some of the backups is coming out of Woods Hole because you can't get 2 cars and trucks going down in the Woods Hole, so that backs up. So it's not always the Woods Hole standby traffic. It's a multi-layered thing at that corner. It's just a bad corner. Yes, there are some backups. Yes, there's some things to address in the steamship, but I don't think everything should be blamed on the steamship for that corner in backups. I've seen it myself.
I understand there have been backups when the bridge is up, and that's when it hasn't been our responsibility. But
there's been backups the other day when the bridge wasn't up. There's the parking on both sides of the road. Sometimes you just can't get 2 cars by, and it jams up. It's like a bottleneck right in front of the pie in the sky and the post office.
I still think it's many more times than was shown this time. And if you looked at all the Woods Hole traffic emails we got, all the photographs we received numerous complaints of traffic backups due to our inability to process all of the people arriving back on open tickets and with reservations for the future. And we thought we were going to be able to eliminate that. We haven't been able to eliminate that. The procedures we tried to implement were probably too complicated for this situation. And I think the staff is looking at 2 aspects. Now we're trying to keep it, I think Allison will report, we're trying to do our best to make certain it doesn't happen for the rest of this year. And she's on mute, but maybe she can nod or say that.
No, we are, and it's not for lack of trying by our staff. I
Correct.
mean, it's just one of those, I wish there was a way to better understand it, but it's always this one specific time period between 2:30 and 4 o'clock that there is a mad rush of people showing up at the terminal, whether it's with an open ticket, a later reservation on that day, a later reservation on a different date of a month. And we are short-staffed right now. I mean, everyone's short-staffed, unfortunately. And they are doing their best to get those lines as short as they can and move those cars as fast as they can, but there's only so much they can do.
So it seems like the only solution is to eliminate the standby. That would work.
Well, if we went, one thing we are also, I hope, in agreement, is that it has not been the steamship authority's fault on reservation only days. So to convert to reservation only days, we are now considering, I think the staff is considering whether to ask the Port Council and the board at their August meetings to extend, and this is something that you asked for last year. It's not as if we haven't been on notice since last September, to extend the reservation only day weekends for Fridays, Saturdays, Sundays, and Mondays this year. The last one is around Labor Day, and to extend that through September to the Columbus Day weekend. There are reservation only days, I think, for the Friday before Columbus Day and Columbus Day itself. And they're asking to do that to give sufficient notice to the traveling public now that those reservation only days can be extended. There may be an issue with advertisement of the schedule, and I think arguments can be made on both sides of that issue. But that's one thing. We do have reservation only days for the weekends through Labor Day. It hasn't happened, I don't think. I mean, if Catherine is still, she's still there, I see. I don't think it's happened the last few weeks. I think we're doing a better job, but we can't assure you that it's not going to happen again. We just can't, the way the situation is. And for next year, I know the staff is considering whether we should simply convert to reservation only days for the entire summer schedule. That
could be done now, right, Steve?
Well,
everything's doable. It could be done.
For the weekends, we're looking at whether we can. There is a legal issue about the advertisements of our schedules, which included when there would be standby available and when there would be reservation only days.
And so when you guys have mechanical failure or other things and you change your schedule, isn't that allowed?
That's exigent circumstances, yes.
Well, this is also exigent circumstances, that you are tying up Woods Hole Road past where the dome is. That can't happen. And the only way we can stop that from happening is to go through reservation days only 7 days a week. That is a solution. And that's the only solution that anybody can come up with, not for lack of trying. And I applaud the Steamship Authority has been trying and tried everything possible, except for the one thing that we know would work. Okay. That would work. And so if nothing else works, we need to go with the one thing that does work.
You did change, I mean, you do change rules along the way too. I remember the first 10 days after the 4th of July, you basically canceled well, that was scheduled?
Usually around the 4th, we do schedule, depending on the holidays. Reservation onlys can be extended different directions depending on holidays and when they fall.
So you could extend between.
But that was public.
Memorial Day and Labor Day.
It was published out in advance, so.
That worst day was a standby day.
Yes, that was a Wednesday.
Yeah.
The 23rd.
And the weather was good. And Steve, just to address your point, I walked that, basically it was completely stopped traffic. I walked one way and I walked the other, and I spoke with many of the drivers, and it was a vineyard crowd. There was, if you wanted to go to Woods Hole, people were actually doing 180s and finding other ways into Woods Hole. I mean, the photos show that as well.
The one issue of doing it, by the way, Doug, for next year, the staff is considering doing reservation only days 7 days a week. For this year, there are more complications with the advertised schedule, and also for people who have already left the island on excursion fares and preferred spaces that on open tickets coming back. So they would not have had the opportunity to make reservations coming back. But so extending that for the weekends through September is working in the right direction for next year and allows them the ability to get back without changing the rules after they've already gone off island.
But what if
Although
it was
excursions are
reservations
30 days
except-
only.
What about reservations only, except for those exceptions you talked about? And if we've got down to a 25% of the people doing it, you wouldn't have a problem.
Well, for the most part, the problem is caused by those, the one report I said that Wednesday, I think it was June 21st or something, 80% of the people coming into the terminal that day were on open tickets. Those are island residents coming back.
All right.
That's the issue. You also have a factor, the business group on the island that has depended upon last day people come making reservations at hotels and places last day, and they're able to say, oh yes, you can come over on standby, don't worry. And then so the way to make progress would be to do it only, to try to extend it only for the weekends, which is Friday through Monday this year, and then with plenty of notice to try to do it on a 7-day basis for next summer. And that's what the staff is considering. I don't have any control over that. I'm no longer, I'm mostly retired. But that is what I understand the staff is considering, and that is what I personally think should happen.
Is it both islanders and visitors that are taking advantage of this?
The
Both
op-
islanders and visitors?
The open tickets in theory can be visitors as well as islanders. There's two types of open tickets when you look at it. There's the open tickets as in the excursion program where they have the 30 days. And then there also is those people that come down with absolutely no reservation and want to get on standby, their ticket is flagged as open.
Okay. If we could just have it be islanders, that's what I recommend, saying, doing everything we can to protect our islanders and their ability to get off the island and back on, and not be as worried about the visitors.
Although I heard Steve say that's 80% of those.
There was 80% that day. So it's question of creating yet
Historic.
another dispute, another opposition to change, which may not, it's something we will go back to the staff and tell them your consideration. They're considering all of this. They have to take it first to the Port Council in August and then to the board. Because it is a policy change enacted by the board. But I just wanted to let you know where we were at the time, and that we do not feel that we successfully addressed the problem. Clearly, I think the evidence is strong that way. And that there hopefully will be some change, and the only issue is the extent of the change and the quickness of the change. So.
In the Steamship Authority's July newsletter, they actually have the 2021 reservation only date schedule. And from July and August, it's basically 3 days a week that are only open to standby. And then once after Labor Day, it opens up a lot more, but they did send that out.
Correct. And my concern about September is that's what prompted this discussion in the first place, our September meeting, when Mike Morrow was in the middle of that chaos back then. So.
But they can't buy the tickets until January. I mean, no one's bought the ticket, right?
Oh, that's for next year. Next year, we're considering it 7 days a week. I'm just talking about.
For this year, okay. Yeah.
I'm just
The only
talking
other
about,
thing I'll mention is, so the excursion fares are only up to 30 days, so changing the rules shouldn't be very relevant if it's more than 30 days
it's
away.
31 days. So
31 days.
just because, so they can leave on a Friday, I guess, and come back on a Sunday or something. But the policy would not be changed until the August board meeting. Any policy would not be changed. Therefore, people will have gone off, and they will have gone off and expect to come back sometime in September. So those are the issues.
You might also consider what steamship employee views down at the terminal? Because when I watch them, I don't think they're big fans of standby. I mean, there are just so many complications that I'll bet every last one of them would be for reservations only if you ask them.
I don't disagree with you. The one aspect that in order to do reservation only, we have to hire additional staff, not at the terminal, but in the reservations department, because the balancing of the reservation only days is that you have the ability to contact the reservations department later in the day, 7 days a week, in order to make those reservations. So there are a lot of other factors. At the moment, we don't even know whether we have enough staff. But
We don't at the moment.
we don't have the moment, but we're working.
If we were to go, if for some act of God reasoning, we could go 7 days a week right now, we would not be able to staff Mashpee.
Okay.
You
So
might
there are
be
a lot of
saving
considerations.
staff at the terminal.
But-
though.
One other aspect of this, and this is for Peter and Jim, they can check back in, is when we have these backups, we get a lot of vehicles, including our own shuttle buses apparently, that when they finally turn left on the Crane Street Bridge, in order to get around the line of cars that are waiting to check in, they cross the double yellow line. There usually is no oncoming traffic, but there's a possibility of it. And then they, in order to go around and go down the other side. And in order to correct that situation, we are wondering whether there might be the possibility of putting up those little poles, those plastic poles. I haven't been down on what used to be called Suicide Alley on Route 6 in a long time, but I've seen them around. I live in Boston, and they're between the travel lanes, the vehicle lanes and the bicycle lanes to keep those separated. And I'm wondering whether the Crane Street Bridge up to that intersection of Crane Street and Cowdrey could have those poles there in order to keep cars on their side of the highway.
You could take a look at it. The stanchions, you mean, they're foldable stanchions, they fold back when you can
Yes.
drive over
Right.
them. Yeah, so the division line between the state and the town is the south side of the bridge, right? So the bridge is owned by the state. So I think it's 100 feet, 150 feet
Probably less, but yeah.
between the bridge and going up towards Juniper Point. It's
Right.
not.
Oh, the overall distance, right. The state line is just 20 or 30 feet past the bridge. Yeah.
Right. There's some signage there.
And the stanchions would have to be before the bridge to make this work. I mean, they're not cutting on the bridge over, they're cutting from before the bridge over to the left-hand lane.
They're cutting on the bridge too. Doug, yeah.
Yeah, they're cutting pretty much the whole length depending on how impatient they are.
I'll just add, we raised this idea with some of the homeowners and they said, well, how will we get home now? They essentially have to cut into oncoming traffic too. So
Shall we just defer this for the moment and hope that we can
Well,
address the
you know,
situation?
or work with the neighbors and ask if there can be some other solution. I thought it wasn't a bad idea, but
Okay.
because I mean, you've seen all the photos of buses. I mean, everyone cuts into that ongoing traffic. Everyone's buses, not just steamships.
Why don't we defer this now and let's hope that we can address this by reservation only. Is there anything else about the traffic backups?
I do hope the steamship will get some type of indicator to the employees because they just don't know down at the ticket shed what's going on.
They know what's going on.
They do know what's going on. Okay, I didn't think they could see past the library.
Well, I mean,
They get
now with the foliage, I thought you meant in regards to what their opinions were on things. No, I mean, right now it's with all the trees, it's hard to see past the bridge, so. But I mean, I know I noticed Catherine's comment about the buses radioing down, but by the time they radio down, it's already too late. So it's something that we need to, immediately resolve as opposed to when it gets to a certain point.
In the old days, the terminal employees would tell me that when they had 2 cars backed up at the booth, that's when they started to put extra people on. And they would run up the hill checking in the cars.
They do that now.
And that's what they're doing again, so.
Yep.
So they don't even want 2 or 3 cars backed up.
Soon as it gets to the gate where they put on the property to close down if we ever had a lockdown, once it starts getting to that gate, that's when they start hustling. Well, not that they don't hustle to begin with, but
Right.
they'll put more people out on the corner.
There was one other idea, and I know this may not be popular, but for standby, some type of waiting area, staging area, Palmer Ave. People have raised this idea.
Only
I don't
problem
know
I
if
see
that would work.
with that is the fact that they're still gonna come down to Woods Hole, then turn around and leave, and go back up to Palmer, and then come back down to Woods Hole when it's their time. A lot of our traffic that we get are people we're turning away to go park because they don't want to read the signs. And for some reason, they hope that we were lying when we said there was no parking in Woods Hole. Even though there hasn't been parking in Woods Hole. And
Right, and actually that's something that Bob Davis had mentioned. He said when he's down there on occasion, and he's gone through the people coming down, he was surprised by the large number of those people who were coming down to find parking spaces.
out of every 5 cars, at least 1 or 2 of them were turning away for parking.
And we have parking in Woods Hole. I think we say no parking in Woods Hole on our radio thing. And if we could find a location, maybe just before the Palmer Avenue parking lot, to put another sign that says, I think what the sign that everyone agreed upon was no parking in Woods Hole. Maybe it's for SSA. You don't want to deter people from going to the businesses there.
I think the problem is you put too many signs up, nobody reads the signs. You got that sign up on 28 that you can see from a mile away that blinks and tells you exactly where to park, and they still come down to Woods Hole. People just aren't reading the signs. That's the problem. It's not the guys in Woods Hole. It's not, that they're not doing their job. People are stubborn. They're going to do it their way. They're not going to read the signs.
Well, I just in response, I think some form of institutionalized standby before you get to Woods Hole Road might help to solve that, because now it seems to be that the perception is one stands somewhat of a chance. There is no other. If I want to go standby, I better get to Woods Hole. If there were some form of a system before you hit Woods Hole Road, that might change the perception.
I mean, if it's unfortunately right now, it's not working for the parking. I don't know how it would work for that. I mean, it would be great. Trust me, I'm not saying it's not a good idea, but we can't get people to follow our signs for parking at the moment.
Okay, we'll continue to work on that. Anything else about this subject? Number 4, Steve Tupper's response that the Cape Cod Commission has not maintained a noise monitoring program and does not have any noise monitoring equipment. Okay, I'm looking at the Catherine Bumpus. What about picking up a time ticket at Palmer? I'll have to talk with Catherine about that more afterwards. About Stephen Tupper's response, Peter and Jim, has the town ever had any involvement with noise monitoring programs or anything along that line?
No, not in my tenure, not in the last 15 years that I know of.
Okay.
I mean, we've hired companies for the noise on the wind turbines or what have you, but as far as traffic, we haven't done anything like that, no.
Okay. So I think our efforts should be in trying to address the traffic problems that cause the noise. And we know where the noisy places are in Woods Hole Road, and what can we do to address the traffic speeding and use of engine brakes there. I don't know what else we can do to reduce the use of engine brakes. MassDOT was quite clear that they refuse to do anything because it's a safety feature, except to make their use unnecessary or less necessary.
I think the speed will help, the speed lowering.
And just to bring up a quick point there. So once in a while, we will get emails from residents that live along Woods Hole Road or on some of the side streets there. And if the pavement is not in good shape, if you got shoving in the pavement or some cracks or some uneven pavement, the trucks driving down there and going over them, you get that banging from the back of the truck to, as the containers on the truck. It makes a lot of noise. So over the years, we have worked with the state on getting some areas of the roadway patched. So at least the roadway's smooth and you're not going to get that banging of the vehicles going over the uneven pavement or the uneven patches. If there's any of those areas that are bad in that roadway, that might be something to be able to look on. I think you know what I mean. The container trucks that have the
Right.
Connex containers on it, those things, they go through uneven pavement or a bad patch. That can get annoying in the night, in the middle of the night or the evening hours.
Okay, great, thank you. That's not something we mentioned before, so that's a good point.
That's come up in the letters though that are submitted to the steamship for the hearings. People have identified potholes, like specific locations.
I guess I don't remember them, so, all right. All right, shall we go to our early arrivals? And let me turn that off. We were, as people know, we did not have electronic communications capability in June. So the list that I provided for the early arrivals is from April 1st through May 31st. Unfortunately, June is not going to be in our statistics for this year. We started to pick up again on July 1st after we got pretty much electronic communications back. 530 has not started until May 19th. At this point, we were doing pretty well, over 90% compliance for all but the last ones, which are later in the morning. The 530, you see that only as a 89.5% compliance, but that was only because that measures the 3, 4, and 5 space trucks. It doesn't measure the 1 and 2 space trucks because those are the loudest ones. We only have a few, as you can see, 19 from May 19th to May 31st. We only carried 19 3 space trucks on that trip, 530 trip, but we also carried 90 2 space trucks and 23 1 space trucks. And if you count the 2 space trucks, the 90, that shows a compliance rate of 98.2%. So despite all the other problems we've been having, I think Allison's email campaign to the freight shippers has really been proven to be somewhat effective in terms of making people not arrive at the terminal until they're supposed to. Again, the times of how early they are they're mostly all within just a few minutes early. There are a few, and those were people who thinking they could get here and get on standby early, and they were disabused of that notion. So does anyone have any questions or comments about the early arrivals?
Yes, they're still too noisy and they're waking us up.
Okay,
Early arrivals or not, the scheduled boat is waking up our neighborhoods.
okay. All right. Let me do this one. The next ones are the Woods Hole traffic emails. And we received 64 pages. These include Allison's responses to the emails that she was able to get. Unfortunately, again, a lot of these were in the month of June when we didn't have email capability. So Allison didn't even get the emails and didn't respond to some because she didn't even know that they'd come in. Generally, the emails about trucks speeding and using their engine brakes, which Allison, if she's able to identify the truck involved, has talked to the freight shippers involved. There was one horrible time when trucks were parked on the sidewalk. Allison did respond to that situation.
I actually was there for that situation.
Pardon?
I actually was at the terminal at that time when that happened.
Okay. And I hope that hasn't happened since then, but I don't know whether it has. The other ones are about our steamship authority shuttle buses speeding. We actually have some people who are keeping good track of that, and they know where to look for the bus numbers. And they've given Allison the bus numbers and the times and the directions. And she's been able to determine what speeds they were going and to talk to the drivers if they are speeding. So that is a good situation there. Again, the huge lines of vehicles leaving the Woods Hole terminal. This has to do pretty much with the volume of cars we carry on the boats and the need to get them out. We have tried to space the arrivals of the boats sufficiently apart so that we don't have one line of cars from one ferry joining up with another line of cars from another ferry that's arrived. That's a constant thing we have to maintain because the boats tend to arrive early if they can. Traffic backups from the Woods Hole terminal, that's what we talked about earlier. We got a number of complaints about that. And going through here, I mean, this is the one about the trucks parked on the sidewalk, which is unacceptable. And Allison took care of that.
Actually, excuse me, Steve, I actually called the shipping company as well and spoke personally. So they reminded their drivers that, because we actually refused service to one of those drivers.
Okay. And then another one, someone had complained about someone coming in at 3:15.
Could I back up? So how did that happen? They just got to Woods Hole too early?
No, what happened was that we had a boat down for mechanical.
Oh, right. Okay. Uh-huh. So that
And
was
it
unusual.
kind of snowballed for that. And they told them they had to go into town and wait and come back at a specific time. Well, they didn't feel like leaving and they felt like they can just park wherever they want.
Okay.
So, and I happened to be down there at the time helping out, moving things around on the property. And I did speak with one of those drivers specifically who was extremely rude to myself. So that's why we ended up denying him that one of the 3 trucks service on the boat that day. He had to come back on a different day and try again.
Okay. And then someone about a truck at 3:15 in the morning. It wasn't coming to our terminal, but we don't know whose it was. There are ones about trucks, our buses speeding and Jake brakes. They don't like our public address announcements, but that has to happen. I guess we can hopefully turn down the audio if possible, the volume. These are about just traffic situations on the road. And these are when our—
Wait a minute. Can we look at those? What do you mean, just traffic situations?
Yeah. Driving through the junction of North Main West, have to stop when the big rig is taking the narrow corner. That has been, we've talked about that before. I don't know whether, Peter, that's something that the town can look at. That's the intersection up way up North Main Street by the Falmouth.
Watson's Corner.
Yep.
I'm looking at that in a small screen, so if that can be emailed to me, I can take a better look at it, but
Okay.
yeah.
What is the problem with what? Yeah, I can't read it either, Steve. Are they complaining that the truck's going on the other side of the road?
That's what
I
I've
think
heard.
the situation is the infrastructure there, that the corner, the Watson's Corner, is too tight for large trucks to make that turn without crossing over onto the other side of the highway. And therefore, cars coming in the opposite direction, if they've already started to go around the corner, they find themselves pinched in from a truck that has to cross into their lane of traffic in order to make that turn.
I think part of that problem is people are cutting the corner short coming out of Woods Hole. I've been run off the road many times.
Yeah, that
This is a time where actually large trucks make the traffic stop. That they'll signal to the traffic coming from Woods Hole towards Falmouth and say, you must stop so I can get my truck around this corner. The corner is just too tight for some of these large trucks.
That
Right.
is a white knuckle experience going through there. And the
Yep.
best solution is Doug's, yeah, you back off. There's also a pothole, I think there used to be one of the letters.
I think that has a problem with some people speed out of Woods Hole. So, and they're not paying attention. So once the truck started committing, they're cutting that corner short coming out of Woods Hole. And I've seen many cars come across that double yellow line on the opposite side of the road. Not the truck, the car.
Steve, you may be thinking of a different spot. This is all the way in Falmouth. This is 4 miles away from Woods Hole.
Yeah, this is at the Locust Street corner with
You're
Main.
talking about where Main Street is, and you could just come past the gas station. The truck has to take a right to get on Woods Hole Road.
Right.
Yes, I've taken that corner. I've been cut off many times. I take it twice a day.
Okay. There are a bunch of trucks that can't do it in their lane.
No, definitely not. Definitely not.
I've heard people locals complain. I do observe that. I mean, we would need a camera to prove it, I guess.
Prove what?
Well, there are incursions into the other lane. It doesn't sound like it's not your truck, but to say that no trucks ever swerve into the oncoming lane, I think would be hard to
There's
prove.
no way some of them big trucks can make that corner without going in the other lane.
Oh, that's Doug's very point. Yeah, that's our point.
I understand that, but that's just part of the highway across the USA. They make a corner these corners weren't made for trucks back in the day. We're adjusting. But
That's right.
the fact that a truck has to go, that's how you're supposed to make the turn. You're not supposed to start the turn before the turn. You're supposed to go across the intersection and make your turn that way. And like I said, it's not just the truck's problem. Some people coming out of Woods Hole are cutting that corner short.
Well, I hope this problem could be passed on to the long range task force, because this gets to the very point of trying to run a commercial port out of a small village, and it's smaller roads.
But it's always been a commercial port. If it wasn't trucks, it was trains, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's a working waterfront.
Yeah, trains don't swerve into the oncoming lanes, but yeah. Okay. Well, there are
So
different.
would you rather
there are
have a
different
train
scales.
hustling down the tracks than a truck?
I don't think the Steamship Authority has any control over Watson's Corner in this regard at this point. I don't know whether Peter, hearing about the issues there, whether he can think of anything over time. I don't know whether there is no traffic light there. I don't know whether that would help. It seems to be working. I don't even know if there are any accidents there. I mean, based upon MassDOT, there doesn't appear to be any accidents there more than any other place.
But Steve, to Nat's point, what the system right now in place is asking trucks to drive illegally and create a dangerous illegal situation. And
That's
you
not
can't
illegal
change that.
truck.
You can't change that road. The solution would be, if freight trucks weren't coming to Woods Hole, but we're going to Bedford, that would solve the problem.
Well, another way to solve the problem would be to straighten out that corner.
That's not an illegal turn. That's a legal turn in a truck.
To cut into the other lane.
Yes. You read the manual, and that's how you're supposed to make the turn.
That's allowed.
I'm not critical of the truck drivers. I'm critical of a truck being on a road that forces you to be fully in the other lane.
That happens all over the country.
Okay. It shouldn't.
Some trucks can't make the turn at the Falmouth Hospital lights without going in the other lane.
Well, I think if we could avoid that as much as possible, that would be a better thing. And there is a solution to having it happen less often. And I'm just encourage the long-term task force to really push that solution.
All we're seeing is larger and larger trucks and more of them.
Trucks aren't getting any larger.
I
They
don't think
can't
Well,
get
the 53
a trailer.
the mix of larger trucks compared with 10 years ago is greater.
The
Well,
mix,
I mean-
the population on the Cape Cod is greater. It's
The vineyard's beating us out, actually. I looked at the census numbers.
Okay, I mean, here, this person's suggesting widening Woods Hole Road. The question is whether, what we can do living with the infrastructure of the road that we have is what we should just give this more thought for maybe a later meeting. Jake braking, the intersection, these are the ones that came through. I think Allison is going to be looking at that location and just trying to identify the trucks that actually speed through there.
You
Yeah,
can put
definitely.
signage up. There is signage that talks about reducing or just no use of J brakes. I was just up in the Natick area. I think it was either Dover or Sherburne that I was driving right through their downtown center, and they had several signs that were talking about reducing the use of J brakes. So it is possible to get that signage.
MassDOT said they can't do that though.
Except this is a state road.
Okay,
Okay.
What was
Okay.
the last point there?
but
I actually was on that intersection yesterday afternoon, just to kind of get down there to get a grasp of things. There were a few trucks coming through. It was about 11:30. And oddly enough, the loudest vehicle on that road was the RTA trolleys. So,
so these were during our outages.
So what do you do about that speeding? And you called them, Allison? There was a specific truck at a specific time with the name, the fuel truck. You called them? Is that what happened?
which one are we talking about? There's been a lot we've been talking about.
These are the ones that you didn't get at the time. So I don't know whether you called them. She did call the other one that David Martin identified.
Mhm.
And there are some other responses from her indicating that she's contacted the freight shippers.
I do think that once there are enough complaints and enough feedback from you reinforcing the speed limits, there'll be some critical mass. And Steve
Yeah,
might
I think it'll
differ,
make
but
a difference.
I
Yeah.
think drivers might. Could this have any positive feedback, Steve, or this is futile?
No, I think
Steve, sorry.
I think we need to know these from the people, and we have to follow up on them with the freight shippers. And I think that should reduce those incidents. If they know they're being watched, I think, first of all, I think many, if not most of the truck drivers are perfectly courteous and follow all the rules. But there are always ones that don't, and we have to be able to identify those and report them back to their employers. And that's like any other place you have.
Yeah, and a lot of it, and we've stressed it before, and I will stress it again, it is the third-party shippers that are the ones that we have the most issues with.
Okay.
We might deal with that same company 100 times in a year, but that one driver and that one vendor that they're using could be a once in a lifetime.
And then these are about the car backups. We've talked about that. More truck speeding. A truck blocking Juniper Point. This one was a car carrier that apparently just stopped and unloaded cars. We assume it's unloaded cars. It just stopped there. This is from Jonathan Goldman. We have no idea what that was all about. My understanding, I think, Allison, is that we do not carry car carriers to the vineyard.
Correct.
And we tell them they cannot unload their cars at the terminal, that they were supposed to go to the Palmer Avenue parking lot and unload the cars there.
Not that we don't, when they're not allowed to, it's just that just to be clear on that. We've never had them go over because that person might have had 6 cars in their truck, but only one's going to the vineyard.
Wait, I didn't understand that.
No one has booked a car carrier reservation on the boat. Doesn't mean they're not, I mean, it's not, or not happened, but
Okay,
I haven't seen it in 20 years, so. But then again, anything can happen. But no, whenever someone calls to book a reservation, so let's just use the white SUV on the back end. Let's say that one was going to go in the vineyard. When that owner calls to make the reservation department tells them, because they'll say, my car's being shipped. How do I get it? They inform them that you are to go to Palmer Avenue, and from there, you can take the bus up, collect your vehicle, come back down, and get in line for your reservation. If they happen to call the terminal will tell them the same thing. Many times a car carrier will come all the way down to the terminal. If they actually make it physically onto the terminal, we again tell them you cannot stay here. You have to go back to Palmer Avenue and unload the vehicle there. We'll actually even give them the physical directions to Palmer Avenue to go unload their vehicle there.
So the fact that some car carriers are coming into Woods Hole, that means they're not getting a clear message that they have no business in Woods Hole.
Well, the clear message is not being relayed to the company itself. It's being relayed to the owner of the vehicle. What the owner of the vehicle chooses to do with the car carrier is a different situation. The car carrying company is not the one making the reservation. It is the owner of the vehicle that is making the reservation. So we tell the owner exactly what needs to be done. It comes up to them to have to relay it to the company. And
I
obviously,
see. You're not in direct communication with the car carrier. Okay.
correct.
I'm surprised it hasn't gotten worse then.
okay.
Whoa. Slow down there a second. See
Oh, I'm sorry.
So at this point, I think it is worth mentioning, we're probably picking up a fraction of a percentage, of a single percentage of incidents. So just so we're all aware of that's what point that's made in this letter.
Okay.
It takes a lot of effort for someone to find the address, email address, and write.
Right. Or, I think that's from Catherine. That's. These are all about the car backups. Oh, this is going into town?
Hmm.
Express. A bus speed.
It should be noted too, when we do verify our bus speed, and I know it is still speeding, but chances are it's usually only a mile or 2 over the speed limit.
And these are the most recent ones. We talked about the issue of cargoes being released from the boats, how to measure that or space that out, and hazardous cargo. I think they want the hazardous cargo earlier in the morning, which are the louder trucks. So that's a balance there. And that's crossing the road to get to Juniper Point. And this was a shuttle bus.
Yep, and I believe they were going, I put the speed limit in.
Correct.
That one was, 4 miles over.
So that's the most recent one from yesterday, or a few days ago.
Yeah,
Week.
and I'm waiting to find out, Roberta emailed today. I'm waiting to hear from Mike Young on the speed of that bus.
Okay. All right. Doug Jones has to leave.
He's already gone.
And the other one is Nat's comments. Let me do that one. That's where, because he's a member of the working group, we can't give them in advance. And let me. Yep, okay.
Well, I'll maybe running a small running comment. The
Yes, you can do
the school
running.
bus. I think it's in here. The school bus incidents were serious in my view, and maybe the LED will help with that. But is that one of the talking points in the letter that goes out? So don't stop for school buses. One driver, I went down to the terminal. He said I couldn't stop. He said it was I was just too heavy. I couldn't stop. He needs to be going more slowly.
Okay, that wasn't a school bus. That wasn't a shuttle bus. That was
No.
a,
No.
That was, I spoke with the company. Nat spoke with the driver. I spoke with the company.
right.
I just hope that's a talk, these guys know they're supposed to stop, but maybe they're surprised that there are school bus stops on Woods Hole Road.
Well, hate to say it, but COVID's kind of, spoiled everybody on that aspect for a while too. Kind of, you don't see that.
I
No,
think,
wait a minute. My kid was in school all the spring, Allison.
right now, I do think that was the only instance we know of where a truck went around to stop school bus. I'm not
Well,
aware of
it happened twice in about 2 weeks. And I assume it happens more.
Okay. I mean, generally people do comply with that.
Well, his point was I was just too heavy. I couldn't.
Who
Right,
was
and
the
that
other
was
truck?
inappropriate, and we got them, and I was talked to the firm.
And there's sometimes the school bus driver will wave you on. They'll see you coming the other way and they will wave you on.
Yep. They probably shouldn't do that, Steve, right? Or you approve of that, or?
If they haven't opened the door to put their red lights on,
Yeah.
they have the ability, they know what it is to drive a truck. So if
Yeah.
it's courtesy, they just let the truck go by and then they'll put their red lights and open their door. I've seen it in the past, I think it's a working relationship just with people driving trucks and buses. They try to work with us, we try to work with them.
I guess my only suggestion again would be to make sure that be sure you stop for school buses. There are school buses on Woods Hole Road if that's not in that letter that goes out, if people are reading.
Okay, I'm sorry, to the freight shippers.
Oh, that letter.
Okay,
That letter.
okay. This is where you called the Falmouth Police Department to report speeding of trucks. I don't know what became of that.
Not a big response from the Falmouth PD when I called in the speeding. Yeah.
I hear Allison indicates she spoke with two of the drivers. They thought they were going the speed limit, but I can't say one way or the other. This was, you asked for Greg Carroll what the ages are of his trucks, and I think this gave them to you.
Yep.
Not all trucks are built
Okay.
equally in terms of noise.
And this is the one where the truck with concrete went by the school bus. These are the weights of the trucks or the ages.
Just wish that trash could come off Woods Hole Road. When I read about all the infrastructure money coming in and then hear the vineyard, we can't afford a $500,000 bailing.
And then this is about the Bruno's truck that came to go standby on a reservation only day, and he was turned away from the property. And because it was a reservation only day. And this is again, even our buses going across the line.
And they've all been warned that they're not supposed to be passing there, that they have to wait until they're on the property to do that.
Okay.
Are they allowed to let the passengers off? Because that seems to be one of the motivations for.
Nah,
Hang on.
they can let them off on the property. They can't let them off anywhere on the road.
So that has happened, but that's not policy.
Well,
Okay.
that was probably road race weekend and it was a riot
Well,
bus,
well,
so.
No, it was June 23rd. Well, it was at least June 23rd.
No, that was during the horrible days. Bruno's trucks, the trash trucks being noisy. You have the traffic backing up again. Bad to me isn't that bad, by the way. I would be thrilled if it looked like that all the time. But that was as far as it got, but that's all right.
That's the best case scenario.
And this is actually Nat had asked Allison earlier in the meeting about employees being able to back up see the backup of cars. And this was really one which is a truck just passed across the road and just stopped there. And that's obviously a safety issue that we have to stop.
One of the problems with that is truck parking is across them double lines. So to get out to them parking spots, you have to cross the double lines to make that swing to get over far enough.
Yeah, that's right between the cab and the tractors, probably where the stairs are to go into the employee lot, just to kind of have a
So
visual.
I think this truck was stopped there. I don't think it was swinging to go into a parking space. I think that was the okay. All right. Peter and Jim, aren't these meetings fun? We just, the more we can do about it, the shorter they'll come, but it's been a long one today, so. And hopefully we'll have a report the next time about standby and reservation only days. That will reduce some of these issues. And hopefully we'll be able to keep track of doing whatever the requests are necessary for the speed feedback signs on Woods Hole Road. And those two things by themselves will address a large number of these complaints, I think, that we've been receiving. Anything else on your emails, Nat?
No.
Okay. SSA's visit to Woods Hole neighbors, problem noise areas along Woods Hole Road. I think Allison mentioned she was there yesterday morning at the intersection, and she'll be continuing that. And the truck check-in system. We have talked with Bob about having, when we have the new terminal layout, having the computer system that's in the ticket office also wired so that it's also into the check-in booth, so that the people there can address the issues of authorization of drivers in order to charge for their trips, things that they do, that they have to go now into the terminal building that can be done out there. That's also a labor contract issue, jurisdiction of whose job it is, but we should be able to hopefully negotiate that out. And
Ask what is the significance of that?
the significance is that if there is from the steamship authority's benefit, if a truck arrives, let's say 15 minutes before the boat leaves,
Yeah.
and we want that truck to get on the boat at that point as soon as they arrive.
Yeah.
But if the truck driver can't get on because he or she has to go into the ticket office in order to be authorized, in order to charge the trip or anything along that line, it will obviate the need for the truck driver to go inside, and we'll be able to, so that a truck that comes up to the check-in booth can do all of the business necessary and quickly in order to either go to their initial staging area if they aren't waiting to be loaded, if they aren't going to be loaded, or even possibly directly onto the boat.
Okay, but a lot of the drivers come down and need to get out of their truck, stretch their legs or go to the bathroom. So if you're driving right up to the boat, they can bill your ticket out as it is now.
Right, they'll still be able to do that if they want to, but they won't have to get out if they don't want to.
Okay.
All right. Peter and Jim, I want to thank you again for
Thank you.
participating today, very much. We appreciate all the time. I understand we aren't going to have the benefit of both of you at each meeting, but maybe a tag team.
Yeah, we'll try to switch. If I can't make it, we'll try to have Jim make it. If Jim can't make it, I'll make it. So Steve, a letter will, as far as these feedback signs for Woods Hole Road, a letter's going to be sent to the selectmen, and then we'll wait to hear back from the town manager on that.
I think you have to, you can't do it until you're authorized, so yes. And we're just going to ask the Falmouth Select Board to authorize you to do all of that, just as a working group. That's all we are.
And now, will this include the cutback with the tree team? Will that also be in the letter to be able to? Okay, all right. So we'll wait to hear back. It'll go through the appropriate offices and through the town manager, and then we'll wait to hear that back that way. So we'll know. Okay.
Correct. Yeah, that's all up to the town. All we can do is root from the cheering gallery.
Yep.
That's all we can do as a working group, but we intend to do that.
No, that's fine. I just wanted to make sure nothing was falling through the cracks. That's all.
Yes, you do not report to us.
Right. No, I just didn't know if there was any action items that we may be able to jump on, but yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, you have to wait until you're authorized.
Okay.
All right, for the next meeting, do we still like, with Doug, is 3 o'clock a better time than 4 o'clock for everyone?
Actually, 4 is better for me, but it can be done, you know.
We have been having it on alternative Wednesdays because, well, let me check with everyone's schedule before we schedule the next one. If Doug can do Thursdays, I don't think any of us here have an issue with Thursdays as opposed to Wednesdays.
Thursdays are tough for me because I have public hearings.
Would Mondays be better?
I have land use planning committee meetings. I need to be at both of those meetings, sorry.
Okay. What about Tuesdays?
Tuesdays are cool and Wednesdays are cool.
Okay,
I can be flexible at times. Time's not a concern, I guess, but
Tuesdays are not good for me.
that's why we selected Wednesday. I keep on forgetting. So maybe, Steve, if you can make it earlier on a Wednesday, that would be good.
Yes, sir.
Okay, because I know that Wednesdays, what Doug emailed me was that he has a conflict at 4:30 now. So we can do it August 25th.
sure.
At 3 o'clock.
Works for me.
Okay,
Right.
Thank you.
thank you. And I think that's it. Thank you again, Peter and Jim.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks,
all.
everybody.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I don't think we have a quorum anymore to move to adjourn, but all those in favor of moving to adjourn, Mr. Aversa,
Yes, sir.
Mr. Morrow,
Yep, yes.
and Mr. Trumbull.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you all.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.
Yeah.